Good afternoon, class. Today we're going to be talking some more about poetic devices. As you know, we've already gone over rhyme scheme, repetition, alliteration, assonance, imagery, personification, metaphor, simile, extended metaphor, and today we're going to be talking more about symbolism. And that quiz that you guys all took, that's not going to be graded, but what I do want you to do, that was just to check and see how well you were doing on knowing the definitions of these different poetic devices. And I want you to use your quiz now to follow me in this PowerPoint and make any corrections to the ones that you got wrong, and then I'm going to collect that at the end of class. So let's start with rhyme scheme and just go over that one. Rhyme scheme is the pattern of rhyme between lines of a poem, and the letters I have below in this example indicate which lines rhyme. So, bid me to weep, and I will weep, while I have eyes to see, and having none, and yet I will keep, I hear to weep for thee. So you can see that A, B pattern with weep and keep rhyming, and see and thee. So that's a pretty easy example. So let's go over a few more of these definitions. Repetition is the repeating of words, lines, phrases, or stanzas. And an easy way to remember repetition is when you think of your favorite song and the chorus in that song. That's an example of repetition. And make sure when you're taking these notes that you also note my example, because that should help you remember what these are. The next one is alliteration. So that's the repetition of initial consonant sounds. So Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. That would be an example that you could remember easily. And assonance is similar. It's just the repetition of vowel sounds. So if you would think of, the letter A, and you could say, an ape ate apples all afternoon. That's an example of assonance. Imagery is words or phrases that appeal to any sense or any combination of senses. So, if an author or a poet is talking about their grandmother's apple pie, and, that they can taste the cinnamon, or smell the taste of or smell the cinnamon wafting through the air. That's an example of imagery. They're trying to really give you a sense of, that apple pie. Personification is a figure of speech which endows inanimate objects with human traits or abilities. So a good example you could think of is the leaves were dancing in the wind. So it's really giving something that wouldn't normally have human qualities, those traits or abilities. Metaphor is a comparison between two objects with the intent of giving clearer meaning to one of them. And this is often seen with a to be verb, or is or was, to make the comparison. So an example of that would be, her heart was made of stone. So you can see that, or you could easily see what someone is thinking about or saying about this person when they're comparing her heart to stone. Obviously, she doesn't have many emotions or feel very loving toward people. Extended metaphor is a metaphor that is used throughout the entire poem. So if an entire poem went on and on about how this woman's heart was like stone. Simile is a comparison between two objects using a specific word or comparison, such as like or as. So instead of saying her heart was stone, her heart was like stone. So there's a slight difference there, and we can talk more about that if anyone's confused on simile versus metaphor. So what I really wanted to talk about today is symbolism, and the definition is people, places, or events that have a meaning in themselves but that also stand for something beyond themselves. So a good example is a white dove. A white dove typically symbolizes peace. Another one is water, which can symbolize washing away your past or washing away something that that you don't want any longer. It's like a rebirth of yourself. So I want you to think for a few moments, what do you think that a skull and crossbones would symbolize? Just take a few seconds and jot it down. Okay, so a skull and crossbones could symbolize poison or danger. If you think about, I think pirates usually have skulls and crossbones, and pirates are considered dangerous. How about light and darkness? jot down what comes to mind. Okay, so light and darkness, that's a pretty easy one, I think. Light meaning, good, darkness meaning bad or evil. That's seen a lot throughout literature. All right, so it's your turn, and what I want to do is read aloud to you a poem, and I'm going to pass it out to you as well so that you have it in front of you, but I'm going to read it first. This poem is entitled Mother to Son, and it's by Langston Hughes. And what I want you to do is, as I'm reading it, I want you to think about the symbols that you hear and jot them down on your quiz, actually. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I's been a-climbin' on, and reachin' landin's and turnin' corners, and sometimes goin' in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set down on those steps, 'cause you finds it's kind of harder. Don't you fall now, for I's still goin' on, honey. I's still climbin', and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Okay. So I think let's just quickly talk about how the main symbol used there is the crystal staircase, and obviously the poem's talking about how that's not been a very easy life and an easy staircase to climb. So think about some other ones and jot those down, and you'll have time to do that in a few moments if you haven't done that as I've read the poem. But I also want to do a little mini assignment right now, and I want you to think about your life as a staircase, and what would the crystal staircase mean for you? What would the tacks be, the broken boards and splinters, the light? And I'm going to be walking around the room, and I'll help you with some of this, but I want you to really take some time and think about these questions and answer them. All right. Thank you very much, and let's move on to this assignment.